The truncated version. Roll call, please.
All right. Okay, I don't know if the sound up. I'll try it. Gary Cunningham?
Here.
Nathan Long?
Here.
Who's also absent. And Bruce Robinson.
Changes to the agenda or additions?
None.
Minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public comments on non-agenda items or matters not involving a public hearing.
Mr. Chair, I just want to point out that the sound isn't working. I don't know if in the back people can do anything about that.
I think this is as good as we can get, sorry. Dave Wilson is in the...
I know. I don't know if they know how bad it is out here. It's the opposite of what it started out to be.
Okay. The people in the back cannot hear? You cannot hear us? You can hear us. Okay.
Please limit comments to 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers should keep in mind that they are being broadcast on live television, even if you can't be heard. Are there any speakers on non-agenda items? No. Final orders, resolutions, and written communications. Would you like to read that?
I like to read what?
Read the bill, please. Final order 2015-3.
All right. An application for approval of the preliminary master plan for Olivia Beach Phase 3. Was that what you wanted? Yes. All right. Okay. And would you like me to launch into this?
Yes, please.
Okay. The final order is based on our discussion at the previous meeting, and it went out in the packets. I assume you've all had a chance to look over it. The final orders are, in a way, like minutes. It's not a second vote on the issue, or in this case, the Planned Unit Development Master Plan. It is your yes vote would be that this, in fact, reflects what it is you discussed and decided at the last meeting. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Have the commissioners all read the final order? Do we want to go over it point by point, or are we ready to vote on it?
I think I'm ready to make a motion on it.
I have a couple things.
Deanna,
Sorry.
you have the floor.
I don't know if anyone can hear me. Can you hear me back there? All right, good. On the conditions of approval, number 24, the tree replacement.
Yes.
What size are these new trees? We talked about DBH before, and I have no idea what these are. That'll be planted.
We could specify that if you'd like. I would suggest no larger than 2 inches. Usually when we plant a smaller tree, it catches up in a couple years to a larger tree. I believe our landscape ordinance requires 1.5 inch diameter, and our commercial design standards requires 2, so if that gives you some idea of a range. A a 1-inch tree is a lot easier to plant. So,
Well, it's okay if you're going to nurture it over the years.
yes, and you could specify different diameters for trees planted on the street as opposed to, or in the common area as opposed to a single-family lot.
Mm-hmm.
Kate, do you remember, is it 1.5 or 1 inch for the landscape ordinance? Okay. Pardon me?
I was just going to say, yeah, I just thought that it would include a size, because that's what we were talking about. So if the commercial design standard is 2 inches, does that sound like a reasonable size then?
I guess I do that for the common areas.
Mm-hmm.
And street trees, if in fact there's room for street trees. On the private lots, I'd go with whatever's in 1752-100.
Okay, I had one more tree question, which is in number 25, where it talks more about one tree will be planted per owner or property owner, and that would be different, the lot owner, so that would be different. I mean, it reads different to me than it would be, then the developer would actually plant the tree.
Well, okay, yeah. I'm sorry.
Anyway, no, that's okay. It's kind of a two-part question, I guess. So one part would be, do I understand that correctly? So a new owner buying property in Olivia Beach number 3 would be responsible for planting one of those 4 species of trees. Where are they going to get them? I mean, it makes it, if I lived somewhere else and I was just coming back and forth here to a house, or even if I lived here, I wouldn't know where to buy the trees. It just makes more sense that when the developer is purchasing the trees for the common area and the street trees, that he could also plant the one per lot.
Well, the reason that I wrote it this way is because, as you recall, our ordinance says that you cannot remove a tree from a building lot until you have a building permit in hand. So the existing trees will still be on those building lots until they are purchased and someone decides to build a house. Olivia Beach maybe is building all the houses as they have in, in Olivia Beach 2, and so they may be working with the homeowner to do the landscaping as well. Okay.
Even the ones on the lot,
sorry.
then.
That's probably more than we can add to the record. We can't add to the record at this point, but
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. If there's agreement between the developer and
well, that's something we can't add at this point because we've already made the decision, and I know this is kind of new because you asked for conditions on trees, and this is your first opportunity to see them.
I just don't want to leave it up to the homeowner. It just seems like that's...
Well, in our code, we require landscaping for every single family lot, and they have to submit a landscape plan with the building permit or before they get final occupancy. So this is not unusual in that. The only unusual thing is that we are requiring specific species.
Okay. I'll trust you.
We'll see what happens.
Yay.
Is that your proposal?
We did, I think. The two, not for the lot, but the 2 inches for the commercial on the street.
If that's an amendment, then we need to weigh in on it. Is that correct? What do you? I'm ready to go now on it, if you guys want to, somebody make a motion on that.
The amendment is, explain the amendment to me, but going to 2-inch trees or specifying?
It would be a 2-inch tree, or the equivalent in a conifer would probably be a 6-foot or 7-foot tree, or larger.
That currently in the code already.
The size is in the code for single-family lots, and we do have a size on trees planted to meet the commercial design standards.
That's in code as we stand.
The commercial design standards don't apply to a planned unit development.
Okay.
What is there anything in the VR standard that talks about tree sizes?
No.
Zone?
I don't think so.
Incorporated. Commercial would not be.
Exception.
Right, so I would suggest if you want to specify sizes, you do that for 23 and 24, and 25 would be for, the landscape ordinance would apply as for single-family lots.
Okay.
Made a motion?
Can I say, okay, I think we agreed to the 2 inches for number 25, the 2 inches in the commercial and street, and 1.5 or whatever's in the 17.52.100.
Okay, so specify 2 inches for 23 and 24. That would be for the street trees and for the common tracks.
Yes.
2-inch trees, or the equivalent of a conifer. Okay. And 25, if we can just leave that for the existing code requirement to address.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Was that a sufficient motion for you gentlemen?
I'll make a motion.
Make a motion.
Move to approve file order number 2015-03, amending number 24 to include 2-inch tree size.
23 and 24?
23 and 24, yes.
Thank you.
Second?
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none.
Did you abstain for your vote?
Abstained.
Abstain.
The code was fine.
Oh, so
It doesn't change the code.
I feel the code's adequate as it stands, 1.5 and 2 inches.
The 2-inch does not apply to planned unit developments.
So 1.5, I do.
1.5 applies only to residential lots.
And that's what these are all going to be, right?
Well, we do have some common area and also some street trees that would be in the right-of-way where there's room. So we don't have anything in our code that specifies what that size would be.
we're just adding to the commercial, is give a size of the trees, because commercial does not have a size. So basically residential 1.5 and commercial, we're setting a standard of 2 for this.
Change the code.
We're just waiting for your vote, sir.
I'll vote A.
Thank you. Carries. All right. Public hearing deliberations. 6.1, File CPA and ZC 2015-3, Comprehensive Plan Map and Zoning Map Amendment to Vacation Rental Zones. Approximately 7 acres located south of Southwest Bard Road and east of Southwest Coast Avenue. Request to redesignate to the vacation rental VR zone for properties now zoned multiple family residential RM and single family residential R15. Property owners Olivia Beach LLC, John and Ellen Arnold, Mark and Adrian Foyer, Lewin Johnson, and Genesis Family Properties LLC.
Prepared, I believe.
All right, I'm going to start that one from the top. It's now 6:17 p.m. The public hearing for file CPA and ZC 2015-03 is now open. I read the second paragraph already. Planning Commission's role in this process is to consider any written or oral comments or testimony as well as information from staff and make a recommendation to the City Council, who will hold an additional public hearing. City Council may adopt the Planning Commission recommendation, may adopt a different recommendation, or may take other action, including declining to make a decision. The Commission must take a few moments to cover some preliminary matters and required statements. Does any member of the Commission wish to declare an ex parte conflict of interest or bias in this matter? Does any member of the audience wish to challenge the qualifications of a commissioner to participate in this matter? Does any member of the audience wish to challenge the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission to consider this matter? The following statements are required to be made at the commencement of the hearing pursuant to the City Code and ORS 197.763.5. Staff will now read a list of the applicable substantive criteria for this decision.
The amendment must be found to be in conformance with the statewide planning goals, the comprehensive plan, and the applicable provisions of the zoning ordinance.
Thank you. All testimony, arguments, and evidence must be directed towards the applicable substantive criteria previously listed, or such other criteria in the plan or land use regulations which the person believes applies to the decision. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the decision maker and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issues precludes appeal to LUBA, the Land Use Board of Appeals, on that issue. Failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues related to proposed conditions of approval with sufficient specificity to allow the decision maker to respond to the issue precludes any action for damages in circuit court. Prior to the end of this hearing, any person who participated may request a continuance to provide additional testimony, argument, or evidence, or request that the record be left open to submit additional written testimony, argument, or evidence. Before the staff presents a report, I would like to summarize the adopted public hearing procedures. A brochure outlining procedures is at the entrance to the council chambers. Generally, the order of proceedings will be as follows: preliminary matters and required statements, staff report, questions of staff, applicant's presentation, those in favor of the application, those opposed, rebuttal by applicant, requests of continuances or to leave the record open, close of the hearing, close of the record. requests to submit written argument, deliberations, and recommendation. The city has established some time limits. The applicant will have 15 minutes and may reserve up to 5 minutes of that time for rebuttal. After the applicant testifies, any person may speak for up to 3 minutes. If the Planning Commission has questions, your time responding to any questions will not be counted in your time limit. If you wish to speak, please write your name and mailing address clearly on the sign-up list at the entrance. Please speak directly into the microphone and begin by stating your name. If you also have written testimony to submit into the record, please provide a copy to the recorder. Would you please present the staff report?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioners, this is a request to rezone 32 lots, about 7 acres, most of which are zoned RM, multifamily, and a few, I think 3 of which are zoned R1, single-family residential. The property is located adjacent to existing Olivia Beach development, between that development and the Agnes Creek open space, south of Bard Road and east of Coast Avenue. You can see on this picture we've outlined the lots in sort of greenish or bluish color. Highway 101 is running over here on the right side of the photo. Olivia Beach is to the left. Bard Road is curving along here up above these lots. Just want to draw attention. These 3 lots at the bottom here that I've outlined in yellow, those are the ones that are zoned single-family residential. This one in the middle that's also outlined in yellow is a developed lot that's actually not part of Olivia Beach, but the owner has agreed to be part of the application for the rezone. Just by way of background, this is looking into the development, the existing part of the development. These going back, these lots along Dune Avenue here was originally a separate development. You just approved bringing that in with a preliminary master plan for that area and the adjacent property to come into Olivia Beach. So this is looking from Bard Road to the south. There's an alley in there, just a view in there behind the existing house. From the intersection of Bard Road and Coast Avenue, that's another house that's been built there. And then going on down Coast Avenue to the south, a little further down Coast, there's a pump station for water service to serve what was Hunter's Highland, that area of lots that's now part of Olivia Beach. And then there's this in that R1 area, there's this one VRD that has been added to the proposal as well. So, and this is Coast Avenue here. There's the house here. The VRD is down here at the bottom that I was showing you. The proposal again is to change from the existing RM and R1 zoning to the VR zone. In the RM and R1 zone, single-family residences are allowed in both zones. They both are considered residential zones as opposed to commercial zones. VRDs are allowed in the zones as accessory uses, not as permitted uses, but as accessory uses. And there's a maximum of 5 bedrooms for each VRD, and only 1 VRD per owner in the residential zone. By way of contrast, looking at the VR zone, then also single-family residences are allowed in the VR zone. It's a mixed-use zone, not a residential zone, but residential and commercial. VRDs are allowed as a permitted use. It means it's an outright use, not an accessory use. They'll be able to be occupied for 365 nights a year. No maximum number of bedrooms. If it wants to be built to residential standards, 5 bedrooms is the maximum. Otherwise, it can be built to commercial standards and have more bedrooms. And an owner can own more than one VRD in the zone. The approval criteria for this project, as mentioned a minute ago, was for this rezone, the proposal must be seen to be consistent with the comprehensive plan, with the statewide planning goals, and also must meet the locational criteria in the VR zone itself. And I'll go through these as they come up. I'm going to hit the highlights in the comprehensive plan and the statewide planning goals. You have the full list of all those goals in the staff report, but I don't want to go through all of them. Just want to hit the major ones. Our policy number 6 on the housing goal is to provide for the housing needs of all citizens. This project this proposal has the potential to convert some housing land to commercial use, in that a full-time VRD is considered a commercial use. The property is still available for residential use. It's in the VR zone. The uses that are allowed in the VR zone are essentially identical to what's allowed in the single-family residential zone. And since this is RM zone, not R1, most of it, but when you develop single-family homes in the RM zone, they're to be developed to the R1 standard. So you can sort of look at it as sort of technically it's changing from R1 standards to the VR standards. Again, with the only difference being that a VRD can be unlimited number of nights and it can be built to commercial standards as well.
RM is residential.
Multifamily residential.
Isn't that a downzoning to go to VR from RM?
It is a downzoning from RM to VR because it allows fewer uses. It doesn't allow the more intensive use of apartments. But this is the applicant, the property owner has initiated this, so
I understand that. Thank you.
no issue there. In addition to looking at the issue of maybe taking some land out of the inventory of space of lands available for residential development, we have made some changes to the zoning ordinance to allow new options, and particularly the cottage clusters, accessory dwelling units, mixed use in all the commercial zones. So we did a buildable lands inventory in 2006 that said our supply of land was adequate, and even if we take some out here, and even accounting for some of the open space that we've taken out, there still should be an adequate supply, particularly since things like the open space, the knoll that we took out in the villages at Cascade Head, that's mostly steep slope land, and this land with steep slopes was specifically excluded from the buildable lands inventory because it was not considered buildable. Another significant piece in the comprehensive plan is the economy goal, which is to support the tourist industry and achieve a degree of diversity in the community, which will allow a balanced economy. That's the critically essential part of this of the goal. To say VRDs are an important part of the economy. They do contribute to the tourist economy. We've heard a lot of information about how people's tourist activities have changed since 9/11. There's much more people, going in groups, not wanting to go individually, but go in groups. The whole family goes and that kind of thing. And very often we're seeing more people wanting more choices that include vacation rentals. Another important goal is the transportation goal, to provide a safe, convenient, and rapid transportation network there's an existing transportation system in. Going from the RM zone to the VR zone actually could result in a reduction in traffic levels because there'll be less density, fewer units than the RM zone would allow. So you actually could end up having less transportation impact than with what the existing zoning allows. Development does center on Bard Road and Coast Avenue. Coast, of course, feeds right down to 32nd, and there'll be a light at 32nd, so we could expect traffic to, particularly southbound traffic, but maybe more than that, to go down to 32nd. Northbound traffic would probably go Bard Road and then up to 12th, which is what most people do now when traffic's bad, because they get a light at 12th. They'll have another option at 32nd. So. And as I said, traffic will tend to go down there once that light goes into effect, which should be this fall. Turning to the statewide planning goals, Goal 9, economic development. This project should not have any adverse effect on the availability of commercial and industrial land because the land is owned residential. So actually, in a sense, it's creating more commercial land because VRDs, again, are in the VR zone would be considered commercial development. Again, as pointed out under the comprehensive plan goals, the rezoning does support the tourist industry. Goal 10 in the statewide planning goal is related to housing. As I said, some will convert to the commercial use, but it continues to be available for housing. And we have those other options that I mentioned about cottage clusters, accessory dwelling units, mixed use, and so on. So, if anything, we have more land available for commercial or for residential development than we did in 2006 when we did the inventory. Goal 12 is transportation. The rezoning relates to uses that are already allowed. As I said, the RM zone allows single-family development. Most of the land is platted for single-family development already. You have the approved preliminary master plan for the remainder of it that is also for single-family development. And as I mentioned before, there's, in a sense, there's a reduction in the amount of traffic that could be generated because of the reduction in the number of units from what would be allowed in the RM zoning. Transportation network's already in place. Finally, the VR zone criteria, there's 3 of them. One is about proximity to attractions and recreation uses. The VR zone is for areas that are in proximity to attractions and recreation uses. As I showed you, it abuts the Agnes Creek open space to the east and the trail network that goes through there. And then it's also adjacent to the Olivia Beach and its associated beach access, the pool, and the green, which includes playground and volleyball courts and so on. So as you can see here, the zoning outlined again in this blue or green is the area proposed for rezoning. This green to the east of it, to the right, is open space, and Olivia Beach is in this yellow area, the R175 area. So good access to those facilities, and also obviously to the beach, a little bit further to the west. So showing you here what those amenities are. The upper left is the beach stairs for Olivia Beach. The upper right is the green. Lower left is the existing stairway going into the open space from the Olivia Beach Phase 3 development, and it goes into connecting to the trail network. And then on the lower right is the pool at Olivia Beach. Another criterion for the VR zone is that there must be adequate public facilities and services. The site is fully served by city sewer. There is water. I showed you the pump station. The pump station may need to be upgraded, but for any development, the pump station may need to be upgraded, whether it would be in the VR zone or in the RM zone. Before the capacity of that pump station be exceeded, it would have to be upgraded anyway. It was built primarily to serve those upper lots, the former Hunter's Island subdivision, and in order to be able to serve the lower lots that are adjacent to Coast Avenue, it's possible that it will need to be upgraded, but again, that would be required before the building permits could be issued. And the roads are narrow but adequate. Again, there's the new light at 32nd Street should help alleviate any problems that might develop. This is just showing you the pump station that's there. Is another view of it, and it's possible that the pump may need to be expanded in there, as I mentioned. And that's at right above where the existing part of Olivia Beach is, just to the northeast. And finally, the VR zone is supposed to be in a discrete geographic area. This is about 7 acres. It's all contiguous. It abuts the Olivia Beach development, and it actually will be largely a continuation of that development. And it is separated from surrounding residential development by open space and by topography, because there's a steep slope up to the east and to the north, and it's basically below the crest of those or separated by open space to the east. So what we're asking you to do tonight is take public testimony, make your deliberations, and make a recommendation to the City Council. And we can bring back a written recommendation for you to adopt at the next meeting.
Thank you. Are there any questions for
Yes,
Richard?
Mr. Chair. Do you have a map of the existing VR zone to that property, to Olivia Beach 3?
There's no place in the city zoned VR.
Not yet, then. So
This is the first place.
proposed.
This is the only place that's proposed. We did the hearings on all 4 quadrants, and the City Council withdrew that application, so they're not going to rezone on the city's own initiative. They're not rezoning any areas of the city.
Does the City Council have another idea in their heads of what's going to happen with the so-called VR zone?
My understanding is if people wanted to go into the VR zone, they can apply to be rezoned just as these property owners have.
Thank you.
Further questions?
My first question is about one property owned by LaWynn Johnson, and she's been included, I think, at staff request or staff.
Staff initiated it, but she's agreed to that.
Oh, she has. That was my question. Okay, because there wasn't a letter from her or anything. So, okay. Another question.
Sure.
Okay. Would you would you mind going back to the map?
Is that good enough?
Either one.
Pardon me? You want the photo, the aerial photo?
No, this is fine. I was just kind of curious. The 2 properties, the one on Bard and then the one on Dune, which properties are those in the...
I'm not sure what you're asking.
There were 2 additional properties that were being included.
Let me go back a little bit further.
Okay. Maybe it's a question to the developer. Okay.
I can sort of toggle it here, the flashing ones.
Okay, so the 3 on the bottom, those are all the Genesis
Right.
properties. Okay, and then there were 2 others, the 828 Southwest Bard, and then the 2493.
They are part of Olivia Beach. They're owned by individual property owners, though.
Okay, I didn't want to make that assumption because I wasn't sure where they were on there. Okay. And are they currently VRDs, do you know? licensed?
Well, I think one of them is not developed, I believe, and the other is developed. I'm not sure whether the house is finished or not. If it is finished, I don't recall whether that's a VRD or not.
Okay.
But again, the owners of those properties have agreed to be included in this.
I was just kind of curious where they were, because I couldn't tell. Okay. Looking at number 5 of your staff report and the state goal number 7, which is the natural hazard zone, is this within the tsunami zone, or is it outside of the tsunami?
This is outside the tsunami zone.
Okay. Answer my other question. Thanks.
Other questions? Thank you, Richard. Will we have the applicant's presentation, please? Hit escape.
Hi, Walker John. Nice to see you all again. This is phase 3 that thank you for approving that. Since I already kind of gave you my whole spiel on new urbanism and kind of the philosophy behind Olivia Beach, I thought we put together a little video that we've done. It's a little promotion for Olivia Beach, but I think it really captures kind of the essence of what Olivia Beach is. So I'd like to play it for you guys, and then just maybe talk a little bit about why I think we're a really good candidate for the VR zone. So. anyway, that was a bit of a sales pitch, but I think a lot of those shots are actually really typical. I mean, if you went out there literally right now, you'd see the park full of kids. I've spent the week there, and there's been a wiffle ball game in the park every day. There's people playing volleyball. The beach access is people coming and going in, and not just folks from our neighborhood, from all of Nelscott use that beach access. We put a lot of, literally millions of dollars in infrastructure in between the beach access and the parks and the pools. From day one, and Richard knows this, originally there was a large multifamily project designed for this site, and the neighborhood was not in favor. And from day one, we met with the neighborhood and said, hey, this is the kind of community we're going to build. It's going to have some full-time, some second home, and some folks that use it for vacation rentals, but we're going to do a good job of managing to all the stakeholders so that it's a community that they can all enjoy, whether they're full-time or part-time or vacation rentals. And I think to a large extent we've done a really good job of that. And I hope some of these images speak to that. The VRD debate has been, I think this is going on 10 years for me, and I've been up here far too many times talking about it, quite frankly. But I do think that if there's any neighborhood that this zone was made for, it's ours. I really do think that we've done a good job of building the infrastructure for the vacation rentals and for the other folks. So anyway, I'd really appreciate your consideration on this, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Questions, gentlemen? And question.
Sorry, I always have lots of questions. I just want to understand everything fully. You said that you talked with the neighborhood. Did you talk with the Nelscott Neighborhood Association folks?
Yeah, I'm talking about when we very first came to buy the property. Casey Roloff, my previous partner, spent a lot of time with the neighborhood, Nelscott neighborhood at the time. So they fully understood the community we were building, and actually were quite supportive. Again, because the project before was a little bit controversial, evidently. So.
And so for this specific, mic's working. Anyway, for this specific zoning request, did you talk with the neighborhood again?
I did not, no.
And right now in Phase 1 and Phase 2, do you know about the percentage of the VRDs in your previous projects?
I'm going to guess 40% maybe.
So if you could look at the future, would you think that would be about true for?
Yeah, I think so. There was the two folks that we have sold to already. There are one's full-time, right?
They're second homes.
Yeah. Oh, both.
No intention of renting.
Yeah, neither of them are going to rent, but they both wanted to have the option in the future, and that's what a lot of folks say.
And so, okay, and so I'm assuming that then your Olivia Beach Cottages will be managing the VRDs in Phase 3 as well?
I do not own the cottage rental company.
Okay.
So, but it's Casey Roloff is the owner of that,
I see.
But they do a very good job, and we have a really good relationship with them, and we recommend them to all our owners, but that's by no means are they required to use them.
Okay, so as a whole for that entire area of this Phase 3, you don't have one particular management company?
No, but I would say that almost, I don't know what percent, I would say 90+% use that management company. We actually share an office with them on Highway 101, so where we do check-ins and They rent one of the houses to use for their maintenance staff, and so there's people on site all the time, which I think helps. I mean, we really market to family-oriented folks. So, I mean, all those images you see are, I mean, it's not like those are actors. Those are, you know, if you went there this weekend, that's what you would see. You would see the park full of kids.
Those are actually residents that we used that day.
That was really a nice video. Okay. I'd like to compliment you on your project overall, and I was kind of hoping that there'd be like one management company to kind of keep, but that's your...
The reality is we can't legally force anybody to use, but you know, I strongly advocate them. They do a really nice job. Any other questions?
Any other questions? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Now we would hear testimony in support of the application. Do we have any testimony in opposition to the application? Sir? 6-2. Good evening.
Mayor. Did submit an email out. Name is Gerald. At 20. Quite frankly, I was very disappointed. Of Olivia advertised it in the very beginning when I was here at the meetings when the proposal to allow them to build first came in. To me, it appeared to be a cloistered environment, which it is. I don't see the benefit to Lincoln City as a whole and as a homeowner, adjacent homeowner. I still don't see that. What bothers me is that, and I called about this, there's $2,500 permit fee to apply for a vacation rental. That's my understanding. There's 32 lots here that are going to be possibly approved for a $2,500 fee. If 32 individual homeowners now would like to be fees, it's $2,500 each, or $80,000. So, would the council allow 30 homeowners to join together and make one application? That's what it seems to be, because we're going to have 32 lots, and because it's a new development, they're going to allow, or would be allowed, 32 vacation rental properties for one fee. That seems patently unfair, especially when the council withdrew what would have been more fair or appropriate to all the homeowners in the area rather than this one cloistered group. And I just don't see the benefit to Lincoln City. I don't see the benefit as an adjacent homeowner. I'm in opposition to it financially, as a taxpayer, and an adjacent homeowner. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, sir. Richard, could I ask you a question at this point? Could a group of homeowners get together and file a single application for the $2,500 fee?
I think the answer is yes.
Okay, thank you. Was there any further testimony in opposition? Others, including any testimony from representatives of public agencies. Rebuttal by the applicant? None. ORS Section 197.173, paragraph 6A states that upon request, the Commission must either grant a continuance for no less than 7 days or hold the record open for no less than 7 days to permit any participant an opportunity to provide additional testimony, argument, or evidence. Does any person who participate desire to request a continuance to provide additional testimony, argument, or evidence, or request that the record be left open to submit additional written testimony, argument, or evidence? Thank you. Does the applicant waive the opportunity to submit final written argument after the close of the record as provided in ORS Section 197.763, paragraph 6E? I'm not sure I do either.
The question is, do you waive the right to submit final written argument? Under the statutes, under our code, you may submit final written argument after the close of the record. So you have to close the hearing and close the record because there was no request to leave the record open or continue the hearing.
Well, since I don't think there's anything to respond to, I think I'm fine with that.
You waive.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Waive. Thank
So
you.
I just asked the council to make sure you close the hearing and the record by motion.
I would motion that we record and the hearing request to RD.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Does the city attorney or staff have any comments concerning legal issues raised during these proceedings, instructions on the applicable law, or legal advice concerning the application of the law to the evidence in the record?
The only thing I can tell you specifically is that Ordinance 2014-21 was the VR zone, and that VR zone included certain locational and criterion that were specified. Richard has gone over them. The question for you is, do you feel that the locational criteria and the purpose of the VR zone are met by this application? That's the question before you. And Richard has also addressed the other comprehensive plan and statewide planning goal staff report. So it's your decision.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair, I would just add that what you'd be doing is making a recommendation to the City Council on the rezoning. Not making a decision, you're making a recommendation.
Correct. Thank you. This matter is returned to the table for deliberations and recommendation. Commissioners?
Chairman, I see no reason not to stated conditions that our staff has put in it.
Says just a minute.
Just talking.
I know. I just wanted to say that the addition of the 3 property owners to this VR zone request was a good idea. Included everyone in that area, and also the additional, what I would have been calling like the fishtail at the south. Those are all good ideas. And I also think this is a excellent example of how to implement this zone. I just wish that there was a little way to consolidate the management of it, just to finalize that up. But that's okay. We can't do that, so I won't. But I think it's a good idea.
Clear up my feelings on the application fee. I believe that the fee essentially covers the cost of filing an application, whether it's an application for a neighborhood or for an individual house. The fees it's the filing fee. It's not the cost of doing or the benefit of doing VRDs. Is that correct?
I just want to point out,
essence?
it's actually an application for rezoning. That's the application fee. So if you're rezoning to a general commercial zone, that's the application fee for the rezoning. For this hearing, for the city council hearing, by statute, those fees reflect the actual cost to staff and processing this application.
Correct.
It is not the fee for having a vacation rental. You can have a vacation rental, obviously we already have existing regulations on that. That's not the fee for a vacation rental. This is a rezoning fee.
Thank you for that clarification.
Mr. Chair.
Sir.
Question for Mr. Townsend. Phase 1 and 2, that's zoned right now. That's R15?
R175.
175. So we're just right now looking at Phase 3.
Pardon me?
Just Phase 3 right now, and that's mostly R1 with a little multifamily.
The Phase 3 is mostly RM, with a little bit of R1 down in the fishtail.
So all VRDs now in Phase 1 and 2 are under the insubordinate rule. Is that correct? Or whatever.
Incidental unsupported. Accessory use.
Any grandchildren?
Taking the bar exam yet?
No.
Further questions?
This is the first application for a VR zone, correct?
That's right.
All right, thank you.
I'm sensing a motion on the way to approve the request.
I'll make a motion to approve the request for VR zoning.
That motion?
Could we have a roll call on that, please?
Before you do that, is this really a motion to recommend to the city council that they approve the rezoning?
Yes.
Yes, sorry.
Yes. We didn't have enough words.
Right.
Right? Okay.
All right, ready? All right, Hinton,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Cunningham,
Yes.
and Robinson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. I don't understand this bit in the script here. If a recommendation is completed, state the matter is scheduled for, I see, never mind, I understand. This matter is scheduled for a public hearing at the City Council on Monday, July 27th, 2015 at 6 p.m. It is now 7:05 p.m. The public hearing for the file CUP 2015-01 is now open.
Mr. Chairman, if you want me to read any part of this, just point at me and I'll do it.
Go for it, sir.
This public hearing concerns a request for additional use permit for a Taco Bell restaurant with drive-through lanes. Subject property is on the east side, south of Piggin. It's in the general commercial. Taco Bell. Property owner is. Commission must take a few moments to cover some statements. If any member of the commission wish to declare an ex parte contact conflict. Does any member of the audience in the matter? Member of the audience wish to challenge the jurisdiction? Statements are required to be made at the commencement of the hearing pursuant to City Code and ORS 197. Criteria for this.
Those criteria are 1732 GC General Commercial Zone, 1752 Supplemental Uses, 1760 Conditional Uses, and 1774 Commercial Design Standards.
Only argument and evidence for the applicable criteria previously listed or land use regulations. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by evidence or evidence that respond to the issue includes appeal to LUBA of the applicant's approval with necessity to allow to respond to the issue includes an action for damage. Court. Prior to the end of this hearing, the person who participated may request a continuance to provide additional argument or evidence or request that the record. Staff presents the board, summarize the adopted public hearing procedures, or outlining procedures is at the entrance chambers, generally the order of procedure. Preliminary matters and required statements, board questions of staff, applicant presentation, those in favor of the application, those rebuttal by the applicant, for continuances or to leave the record open, close of the hearing, close of the record. Limits to applicant 15 minutes and may reserve up to 5 minutes of that time for rebuttal. After the applicant testifies, speak for up to 3 minutes. If the Planning Commission has questions, your time responding to any questions will not be your time limit. If you wish to speak, please write your name and mailing address clearly on the sign-up list at the entrance. Please speak directly into the microphone and begin by stating your name. If you have written testimony to submit into the record, please provide a copy to the recorder.
Thank you, sir. Please present the staff report.
Thank you. Okay, this is conditional use permit for drive-through restaurant. This was preceded by a site plan review on June 25th. And in that meeting, the staff and the applicants discussed the way that this relates to our requirements in the general commercial zone and our supplemental regulations and also our commercial design standards. And I have included the details of that discussion as part of this presentation and how it relates to the conditional use criteria. So I've kind of wrapped it all into one. These things are all in your packet. The conditions of approval that we recommend are based on the site plan review. All right, here's the location map for Taco Bell. You can see it's in the north area of town. It's actually in the Wacoma Pearl. When we get close in, we can see that it's a vacant site, and it is a combination of 3 lots plus, and so we are asking in the conditions that we have a restrictive lot line covenant that ties all this area together. Okay, approval criteria. The first one is that it's in compliance with the comprehensive plan. Our zoning ordinance has been adopted in compliance with the comprehensive plan. The zoning map and the comprehensive plan map are the same. It is the general commercial zone, which does allow, with a conditional use permit, a drive-through restaurant. So I would say that this criteria has been met by this application. I am showing you here that, in fact, it is the general commercial zone, which is red, and it's surrounded by general commercial properties. The second criteria for a conditional use permit is that the site is adequate for the proposed use. general commercial zone doesn't require setbacks, but the commercial design standards do require that the front door be within 40 feet of the highway. And this, in fact, does work out here. In the site plan, the sidewalk is actually in public right-of-way. So with the walk-up ramp for ADA, landscaping on either side of the drive-through lane, and then the sidewalk in front of, to the front door, that all totals 40 feet. The site has adequate frontage for a drive-through. 100 feet is required. This has 140. This plan, and this doesn't show all the landscaping, I'm not sure I included it, but there is a landscaping plan in your packet, and it does meet the requirements of the commercial design standards and of 1752-100. We do require interior landscaping for parking lots, but because this is a single lane, there really is no additional opportunity for landscaping except on the perimeter. The perimeter around the driving and aisles and parking area is supposed to be a minimum of 4 feet, and we had one pinch point right here where it's angled down, and it wasn't quite 4 feet. I talked about that with the applicants at the site plan review, and they felt confident that they could fix that. I also want to point out, I had a question about what this striped space was, and that is a space that will be reserved for cars that enter and decide not to go through the lane for some reason and want to get out rather than wait in line. So that has some opportunity right there to add some more landscaping at the north end of that. The parking is sufficient, and the stacking is sufficient. We do have a standard based on the number of seats in the restaurant and plus number of employees, and they've allowed themselves a generous number of employees. But they do have parking for all of them. And the other concern with the drive-through is that there is enough stacking areas so those people waiting in line do not block parking spaces or block an adjoining right-of-way. And I think in this case we're pretty good there. We don't have a specific standard that says how many cars should be able to stack. In the previous place where I worked, it was 100 feet, which would be about 5 cars. This one is showing 8 before the pickup window. We also have a standard about 50% of the building being within 20 feet, that this type of use has a hard time meeting, because if in fact they're driving through, that means that we can't get that building as close as 20 feet from the right-of-way. The reason that we have this criteria is because we want uses in our pearls especially to be close to the street so that they have a presence and that they invite people to come in. I think that they have addressed this issue with the fact that they have additional, they have some nice landscaping there, and they have provided the ADA ramp for direct access to the front door, and they've provided a door in the front of the building as well as one on the side facing the parking lot. In this section of the code, the commercial design standards, the planning director does have the authority to waive a particular standard or to modify it if the applicant can show that they have a good reason to vary it, and also that they have made up for it in other ways. So that will be something that the applicant can address as well. Let's go to, let's go to relationship to streets. This business would front on U.S. Highway 101, which is the city's only primary arterial, so if any street can handle traffic from that, it would be U.S. 101. The business shares a 35-foot 3-lane driveway with Pig and Pancake. Pig and Pancake will remain the owner of both of the properties adjoining the driveway. This is a view of the Taco Bell site from the driveway. The site plan meets the city's standards for visibility at this intersection. And ODOT also weighs in when it's a property that fronts on US 101, and ODOT asked at our site plan review for the applicants to make sure that the change in elevation here was not going to interfere with the visibility. So the applicants assured ODOT that they would do that, and you can ask them more about that this evening. This is looking south from the driveway to be shared with Pig and Pancake. The tent on here, of course, is selling fireworks, so that was kind of handy because it makes it very visible in my photographs. This is standing in the front yard of the Taco Bell site, looking north, so you can see the relationship to the other businesses in the Wacoma area. Our fourth criteria, and so I would say that the third criteria is met. The fourth criteria is minimal adverse impact. And in this part of the staff report, I addressed all those commercial design standards about the building. First of all, this is the west elevation. This would be facing Highway 101. And I'll just comment briefly, and also maybe get into some design standards as I'm talking about that. The surrounding properties in the general commercial zone are all commercial, and so the property to the east is vacant at this point in time. The others have commercial use, so it's a good fit for the neighborhood. It accesses directly from the highway, both for pedestrians and vehicles, and so this is going to have minimal impact on the neighbors. Parking in the parking lot, let's see, there we go, is to the side and to the rear, so it is not a blight along the frontage. The building is close to the street, even though it's not as close as ideally we would have for other types of retail uses. It has retaining walls that are all less than 4 feet in height, so again, it's not, and they are facing in towards the site rather than towards the neighbor's property, except for the one along the highway. And the height of the building meets the standards. Building form, and I'll go back here. This is a parapet roof, which raises it up to the required 18 feet in height. In most of our zones, we have a maximum height. With commercial design standards, we specify a minimum height of 18 feet because we want to have that sense of building mass, I guess, facing the street. The ramp involves a retaining wall, and so that provides some sort of lengthening of this small building sitting on the site. The applicants have also added a canopy over the drive-up window, which will be nice both for weather protection and also to elongate the building on the site. And they are providing weather protection in the form of a solid roof for the first 5 feet and then a trellis on the north side of the building, and then the retaining wall continues that line to pretty much the north end of the site. I'm mentioning the Pearl District because our Pearl commercial design standards are a little bit different, more rigorous, I guess, than our design standards for the strings, which are the highway areas between our nodes, commercial nodes. Just a few pictures here, a view to the southwest and a view to the north across the Pig and Pancake lot. and a view to the south. There's a little coffee kiosk just south on the property adjoining. And this is the view from the coffee kiosk's parking lot to the site. You can see the tent. And then to the east, it's a pretty good slope up. The rest of the site is fairly flat, just on the perimeter, on the west side and the east side and the south side require retaining walls. I'm showing you the elevations here. One of our standards says you're not supposed to plant trees that are taller, so tall as to interfere with the view of the ocean. And although if right at the shared driveway, you can see a peak of the ocean when you look straight down 39th Street, but looking west from the site itself, there are a lot of trees and buildings in the way. So even though topography-wise it's possible to get a view, probably won't have a view given the existing trees and buildings, and future trees and buildings probably as well. So again, we're looking at the minimal adverse impact. I'm showing you elevation that shows that the building is 22 feet in height, and then these other elements are somewhat lower. Let's see, what haven't I covered? Behind the parapet roof will be the mechanical equipment, so it should not be visible, which meets our standard from the adjoining right-of-way. We talk about adequate transparency in the commercial design standards, and that has to be 60% between in a plane that is 30 inches above the right-of-way to 80 inches above. So I measure the whole front of the building, and then I measure that area and see if the actual transparent window area is at least 60%, and I found that it's 65 to 75% on the two sides, this side and the side facing the parking lot that also faces the pedestrian area. Armature is another one of our criteria. That is how it extends from side to side, which it does not because of the type of business it is. But again, I pointed out those things that extend the length of the building visually. The mass and articulation, these are short sides on the front of the building and the back of the building. On the side facing the parking lot, this is the north side, it is only 80 feet in length, and we really don't kick in our requirements to break up the building until it's about 90 feet. But here in this case, they've done a fairly good job. This is the entrance and the pedestrian part of the building, and then a staff entrance back here, different materials and different colors. And then in the back, it's a shake shingle back of the building, which is windowless. On the south elevation, they have the windows for the seating area inside, and then the drive-up window under a canopy. I'll mention that these windows, one of our standards is vertical lines, and these windows are vertical in nature. The ones on the other two sides were not, even though it kind of looked that way because of the supports for the trellis. But they agreed that they would match the windows in that vertical, and same on the west side. They'll put 3 windows in here so that they'll be matching that vertical aspect. And this is the back of the building, and it's even though it's windowless, it does break up the with materials and elevation. And we don't really have criteria about how the back of the building looks. We do have a criteria that the sides of the building and the quality of the construction is the same on all sides, so you don't get just a blank thing in the back. But it does take around those same themes, but we don't have any transparency requirement. So colors and materials are acceptable as presented. unless you think otherwise, but... And they do have a nice variety of both colors and materials. And I'll just mention, let's see, what else have I forgotten? The pedestrian shelter, as you saw in the plans, does show seating that's under that shelter and trellis on the north side. That is one of our requirements. And horizontal lines. I talked about vertical lines. I didn't talk about horizontal lines. And one thing that would help out here, even though they have the purple band on the top, which is kind of does that. They have the canopy over the doors, both in the front, and they're talking about making this a continuous canopy all the way around to kind of all tie it together. And that provides a horizontal line. We have the extensions on both sides of the building, which continue that horizontal line, and we also require a base, which they did not include in these illustrations, but they will provide some other material from the sidewalk to the bottom of the windows. So I think they've come a long way to try to meet our design requirements. So the planning conditions of approval these are recommendations for you to consider, and they are those things that I just discussed. We also have Public Works conditions of approval, and I did not get into those. Most of those, even though there was a lot of conversation at the site plan review, and I think that the applicant understands what the city needs, most of the written conditions really describe details that they need in reviewing the building plans and hookups and that kind of thing. Also, they require detailed street improvement plans and as constructed drawings, so at the end of the project we know what it is they actually build, because oftentimes there are some changes that happen between issuing the building permit and actually the final occupancy permit. So the fifth, I guess I got these a little bit out of order because there was one more condition, and that was how it relates to any designated area requiring preservation, and that would either be for natural resources or for historic preservation. And this site is not in any of those types of zones, so they get a free pass there. The requested action for you this evening is to complete your deliberations and consider the conditions that the staff has offered, make a tentative oral decision, and then direct staff to come back with a final order.
Thank you.
Yes, do you have any questions?
Are there any questions?
Sorry, I just have one question.
Sure.
Which is about the trees. I noticed, sorry, I'm on trees tonight, but anyway.
It's all right.
The ornamental cherry trees, do they survive here in Lincoln City? I'm not sure if I know of any.
Yep, I reviewed the trees, and the one that I was concerned about was the sour gum, and they said they would find a replacement for that. The other ones are in our recommended trees for coast.
I'll ask you about traffic briefly. You said there's a 3-lane shared driveway with Pig and Pancake.
Yes.
Egress and entrance and egress.
And a turn lane in the middle.
And a turn lane. I'm a little bit concerned about the left turn out of that driveway if we're getting a lot more traffic trying to turn left onto 101. Was there any kind of a traffic study done to look at that left turn?
No, and the reason for that is because it already had the correct zoning. So, a commercial use in there is acceptable, basically. If we were changing the zoning from residential to commercial, we would want to have a traffic impact analysis. I don't believe there was a traffic impact analysis. I don't know that they got any advice regarding the traffic. You could ask the applicant that.
I think so.
Doesn't come to mind right at the moment that we had anything.
Well, it's a tough left turn right there when you have folks going north that's the point at which they start accelerating to get up to 70 or 80 miles an hour by the time they get out of town.
Well, I do know that people can drive through the Pig and Pancake parking lot and the Walgreens and the,
out the
McDonald's to the traffic control light to make their left turn. Whether a tourist would know that, I don't know. But, there's always the option, too, of taking the right turn and finding a place to, turning off at the McDonald's light at Logan and then getting back, turning around and getting back on. I know, left turns are just plain tough.
It's tough in that particular spot. I'm
Yes.
concerned with its turning, and the sight lines are slightly reduced.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's an accelerating. If that light is green, it's pedal to the metal.
Mm-hmm. It wouldn't. You could talk to the applicants about whether signage that would direct people to southbound 101 a different way, or discourage that in some other way.
Thank you. Other questions? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Could we have the applicant's presentation, please?
I'm Terry Novak. I'm the architect for the project and the applicant. And I have with me David Bottoms with Pacific Bells, the franchisee, and Dan Allen with D.A. Bentley, the general contractor for the project. So any questions that I can't answer, they're here to help back me up. I do apologize for the small images there. I didn't realize we had PowerPoint available. So we're going to go old school, and hopefully you can see it as well. And then you'll be able to keep these as record. And I believe we also emailed PDFs of these, so you corrected well. Again, we're very excited about bringing Taco Bell to the community. We think it can be a great asset, and I know staff is also very excited to have have Taco Bell coming as well. So I just want to address just a few of the criteria that we discussed a few weeks ago in the site plan review that are slightly different than what was shown on the PowerPoint presentation. Some of the requests by staff we've addressed in these new drawings, and that we are working on the construction documents right now. So I just want to just kind of address a few of those. The first one was discussing the horizontal rhythm and adding some of the base elements. And so on the...
Terry, you're going to have to stay near your microphone. I'm sorry.
Yes. All right. On the elevations, we added some horizontal bands underneath the windows here and here, and those are shake siding with a darker color, again, to provide that horizontal element to it. There'll also be underneath these windows here, although you can't see it in this elevation because we're showing the planter box. That's a part of the trellis that's out in front of it in the plaza area. There's a discussion of vertical lines, and so we have revised the windows on the west, on all three sides, the west, north, and east sides, to show, on the south side, to be more vertical windows than the large horizontal windows that we had before. So we've addressed that criteria as well. The pedestrian protection, we've added a 5-foot, as was mentioned, a 5-foot awning on both the street-facing side, so the west side, and then on the north side. It's shown in the site plan here. There's an awning here and an awning here that projects out 5 feet, and then the wood trellis will extend beyond that as well. And so the seating that we've got shown in here is both covered from the solid awning as well as the trellis element. So we tried to address that comment. As far as a site plan, just some of the retaining walls, there will be a rock retaining wall which will match the one that's existing out on the corner entrance here. And we've shown a little image of what that rock wall looks like right there, and it is a natural wall that we built, just a small portion back to retain some of the soil. The other retaining walls we have here for the ramp and for the screen wall here to help block some of the headlights, and then for the stairs is going to be concrete masonry units, so just a split face. We'll also give a nice texture to the wall itself. And as staff mentioned, we've tried to elongate the building visually with the use of the canopies and the trellis and the cover over the drive-through lane to help kind of make the building appear larger, as well as considerable amount of landscaping. When you see the landscaping plan, we've actually have a lot of really beautiful landscaping surrounding this building, both along the street and around the perimeter as well. And speaking of landscaping, we did address the narrow landscaping bed up here. We've pulled the curb back a couple of feet to allow for the 4-foot landscape buffer that was required. And we've also pulled this drive-through lane in about a foot to also allow for more landscaping along that the southern boundary of the property. And then as far as just the overall image of the project, trying to capture some of the ocean beach feeling that we were given the criteria through the Pearl criteria. So we've got a variety of horizontal siding and shake siding and a little bit of the synthetic stucco, but we've reduced that quite a bit from what the normal prototype has. And then also maintaining still some of the kind of franchisee identity of a Taco Bell with these are aluminum slats with which are backlit with neon, and then there's signage. I'm sorry? It's not neon, LED lights that run behind the slat wall. So they're not exposed, but they do glow, kind of a purple color back there, and then the purple band at the top. Again, just to kind of give it the identity of a Taco Bell. I think that pretty much addressed all of staff's comments from our site plan review. So if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Sorry, guys. I just have one question and two questions. One is, the trellis.
Yes.
It usually rains a lot here.
Yes.
And I can't remember. Is there seating underneath that trellis?
There's some. There's like I said, there's a 5-foot solid awning that'll cover 5 feet of that plaza area, and then beyond that, this area right here will have the open lattice area to kind of open and allow some light. It is on the north side of the building, so we were also a little concerned about completely covering 20 feet out with a solid roof. You want to get a little bit of light in there and not make it too dark and too covered. So it's a combination of open and closed or covered seating areas.
Okay.
Yep.
Just a question. And my second question is, when do you open?
When do we open? I think we're hoping to be open by the end of this year, is the plan.
Would you, with your little red pen, draw me the egress routes from the line, from the drive-up window? Show me how that flows. That car right there in front of the window.
This one here?
How does he get out?
He goes out this way. This is the drive-through that comes out and then out to the street.
How did he get in?
Through here. This is the little portal bar that shows it's got height restriction, and then here's the menu, and then a drive-through, and then they go out this way. So it's a circular pattern. You're welcome.
Questions?
Mr. Chair. My only concern, I agree with you, is the southbound, pulling out southbound. If there is some possible way to put signage suggesting that traffic use, or southbound traffic use, the traffic signal or something. Every time all the northbound traffic, when they hit that 2-lane, everybody's trying to pass the semi that was in front of them and everything else, and they do pick up to 50 miles an hour trying to shoot around. So if there's some way to do a signage suggestion for traffic to use, southbound traffic to use a stoplight, would be nice.
Okay. I think we'll discuss that with Zach Poole, the owner of Pig and Pancake, and the franchisee, and maybe we can come up with something to keep pedestrians and cars safe exiting it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Does that require to the level of a condition?
If you'd like.
Yeah, they are using that entrance, but it's going to be a lot more increased traffic coming in and out of there, especially even turning in from the center lane. Yeah, I mean, granted, you have a center lane you can pull into, but it's going to be a lot more congestion there.
Is that okay with, I don't see Zach here tonight. All right.
I just have one question about that is, then if that would take all of the traffic, even maybe suggesting to the Pig and Pancake traffic and the traffic from Taco Bell into McDonald's parking lot area and going through it, and then all of that traffic trying to come out at that light. I agree with the light idea because that would be impossible on some days to get out. But I just wonder about how much congestion that would cause for McDonald's and what could be done about that.
At least they bought their tacos before they get to McDonald's. So.
Okay.
Amen.
The city attorney suggested that because we're talking about other people's property here, that maybe we leave that as a suggestion, and that they, or you can make a condition that they investigate the possibility of providing, some other route, off-highway route to the traffic signal.
That works for me.
Condition that they investigate.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have testimony in support of the application? Testimony in opposition to the application, I have 3 sign-ups. Dan Allen. David Bottoms.
Unanimous.
Sherry Wren. Others, including any testimony from representatives of public agencies. Being none, rebuttal by the applicant. No need. All right, ORS Section 197.763, paragraph 6A states that upon request, the Commission must either grant a continuance for no less than 7 days or hold the record open for no less than 7 days to permit any participant an opportunity to provide additional testimony, argument, or evidence. Does any person who participated desire to request a continuance to provide additional testimony, argument, or evidence, or request that the record be left open to submit additional testimony, written testimony, argument, or evidence? Seeing none. Does the applicant waive the opportunity to submit final written argument after the close of the record as provided in ORS Section 197.763, paragraph 6E?
Can I ask before you answer that, for number 15, it says, because no continuance has been requested and no request has been made to leave the record open, is there a motion to close the public hearing and close the record?
Thank you.
Make a motion to close the public hearing and record.
Motion.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. I read? To waive? I'm sorry? Sure.
Okay, so because they've not waived the right to submit final written argument, the record as closed and the hearing is closed, you would set a date for them to submit final written argument, and then you would continue deliberations to a date after that. So, if you want to.
Thank you, sir. Does the city attorney or staff have any comments concerning legal issues raised during these proceedings? Instructions on the applicable law or legal advice concerning the application of the law to the evidence in the record?
Anything specific, if you have questions, up here.
All right, then this matter is returned to the table for deliberations and recommendations. You're good?
I'm good.
Good. Do we want to craft up
I'll
motion?
make a motion to approve conditional use permit for the restaurant file CUP 2015-01 with all staff recommendations and conditions, and with also the condition to look into signage for traffic control.
I second it.
Kate?
All right. Long,
Yes.
Cunningham,
Yes.
Hinton,
Yes.
and Robinson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
This is a tentative decision of the Planning Commission. Staff will prepare a final order for adoption at the next available meeting. Old business?
We have none.
New business?
We have none.
Reports and comments, Community Development Director.
Okay, well, Richard has fled the room, so...
He was feeling unwell and...
Oh,
and
okay.
home.
So, Kate, if we can, maybe we can mention the upcoming Transportation System Plan meetings. Do you remember when they are?
Well, next Tuesday, a week from tonight, is the Project Advisory Committee and the Technical Advisory Committee for the Transportation System Plan. That'll be in this room. I believe it's, I'm not sure of the time, the start time, though. Anyway, it's next Tuesday. And then, in our upcoming meetings with the Planning Commission, they will meet with the City Council on August 4th for a joint work session to hear a presentation on the plan. And then public hearings will be scheduled after that. Those aren't set yet. There will also be a public event, which will be at the Farmers Market, and I don't think we've set a final date for that. It will be either August 9th or August 16th, which will, either one of those are Sundays. So that's what we have on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there public comments on non-agenda items not involving a public hearing? Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Seeing none. Future agenda items and next meetings. Richard usually reads that part out. Our next scheduled meeting is Tuesday, July 21st at 6 p.m. That's be PUD 2015-1 and Sub 2015-1, Devils Lake Boulevard Apartments.
You did make a recommendation on a zone change tonight on the VR, so I'm not sure, but I think that we sometimes bring back a written order or written recommendation on that, so if you may have that at that.
Would that be part of the minutes that we approve or not?
You know, your rules say that the minutes can be that, but staff has sometimes brought back a written document that...
Adjourn.
Thank you all. Do you know Sam Chandler, one of our engineers?
No, I don't.
Okay, Sam, stand up and take bow. Yeah, he was here just as backup in case we needed him.
Thank you.